What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the fourth studio album by rock band Silversun Pickups. They're now completely independent, I believe, no longer attached to Danger Bird Records, and the new album is called Better Nature. We got the lead single Nightlight about a month and a half ago, and I was pretty impressed with it. It seemed like they were returning to some of their roots, like Carnivus or even the album Swoon in 2009. Tracks like Panic Switch is what this reminded me of. But once we actually dig into this record, we can see that the band are headed in an even more electronic direction than their record Neck of the Woods that came out in 2012. Now, I like what they were doing on this album. There were great tracks like The Pit, and even songs like Bloody Mary had new ideas behind them, and it seemed like they were progressing as a band. But with Better Nature, I have to say that some of the ideas feel a bit stalled out. You'll notice a lot of similarities between tracks like Friendly Fire, The Wild Kind, and even Ragamuffin, and that being kind of a creaking synthesizer that works its way up. It's built off of a very minimal and skeletal type feel, and then it slowly works its way in more and more and becomes a bigger presence in these songs. But the problem is that it takes so long. It's such a slow burn that I don't really feel the payoff justifies it more often than not. Now, tracks like Ragamuffin really did grow on me the more I heard them. In fact, I had to give Better Nature as a whole about 7 or 8 listens before it really started to hit home with me, and I started to see the ideas that they were going for on this record, and I think that they did pay off a good portion of the time, but at the same time, I can't feel that invested in this thing just because there's not a lot of ideas that I haven't seen this band do before. Now, Brian Wilson on the vocals, as always, has some interesting moments. Now, the first time you heard this band with Lazy Eye, you probably thought they had a female singer. That's okay. Acts like Born struggle with that all the time, and I don't think they mind. In fact, I think a lot of bands like that see it as a compliment just because they're hitting such a unique range, and I've always felt like he has a delicate but very strong presence behind the microphone. And of course their bassist Nikki does a great job with the backing vocals on this thing, especially on tracks like Circadium Rhythm Last Dance. I feel like this album is definitely built off of a certain groove, and it wants to be heard from start to finish. It's one of those type albums that just kind of settles into this pace, and I think that some people are going to like that and others aren't. I feel like I'm kind of in middle ground because some of these songs hit home harder than others. I like what they were doing in terms of the lyrical content. It seems like a lot of these tracks are about overcoming fears and adversities and just getting their mind out there and saying what they want to. And not that that's anything that new for Silversun Pickups, but at the same time, they're doing it in an interesting way a lot of the time. It's just that the musical intensity just isn't there on some of these tracks. I mean, you've got great songs like Latchkey Kids that definitely hit a lot harder with their guitars, but it just feels like the bass and the guitars, and even the drumming some of the time, could use a little bit more of a kick and a vigor, just kind of a shot to the heart with adrenaline, because it's not there. The energy isn't there that I was hoping for on some of these tunes. Now, I was talking about tracks that have kind of a big build to them, and I think the track Ragamuffin actually succeeds off of that. I love the way that it has a build, but it actually does pay off. The guitars start rollicking, and then the bass, and then the drums pound away, and I think that's one of my favorite drum moments, along with kind of the end of Nightlight. I love how it wasn't that complex with what the drummer was doing, but at the same time, still it feels like a driving force behind the track that keeps it going forward. But back to Ragamuffin, I have to say that that's one of my favorites just because it manages to take its 6-minute runtime and actually make it feel necessary and worthwhile and kind of a rewarding listen. Another 6-minute song that I thought was pretty well structured is Tapedeck. I like that it's built off of these kind of weird piano hits at the beginning of this track, and then the vocals kind of kick in, and it just builds, but it's a kind of weird and eerie build. It almost feels like something that would be soundtracking a sci-fi film, and I get that vibe from a few of the tunes on this record. Now, I'm not trying to say that all of these songs are laid back and much more ambient, because right off the bat we get Cradle, Better Nature, the title track on this thing, and Connection that definitely hit with a little bit more of a fervor in terms of their instrumental, but they're not all that much more rewarding. I mean, they're pleasant listens, but at the same time, I don't find them to be that much more memorable. Do really like the song that's right in the middle of this thing that I was talking about, released as the second single, Circadium Rhythm Last Dance. I love the whining and waning guitars on this track, and of course the vocals from Nikki that just kind of pair up really nicely with the lead vocals on this thing. The backing vocals and lead vocals, they just pair up for one of the best vocal moments on the entire LP. I can't say that I'm that crazy about this record, although I've never been in in love with the Silversun Pickups album. I've definitely really enjoyed some of their past stuff, especially Carnivus and Swoon, and a good chunk of Neck of the Woods, but this time around on Better Nature, I'm feeling at best a 3 out of 5. There's some songs that are absolutely standouts, like the single Nightlight, and then of course Ragamuffin, which has a great build to it. But, of course, this is all just my opinion. That's just how I'm feeling about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching my review of the latest Silversun Pickups album. Don't forget to smash the like button while you're here. Maybe subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. You can click right here to go to my second channel where I do track reviews, music news, and things like that. Or you can click right here to see the last review that I did. All of my social media links are found in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.